this piece of equipment to beat the transit system. So basically, we're just gonna talk about the transit thing. Go ahead, Vinny,
Okay.
why don't you show us?
Normal operation of the machine is you put a token in over here.
We're talking about this right here, right?
All right,
Yeah,
cross
show
out.
how they do that. Yeah.
Okay, what they normally do, what they don't normally do, what they do to take money from the passengers, is they take this arm and they cock it back, just one notch. Now you can see it from here, but if you're going this way, you would never notice this. When this is cocked this far back, your token doesn't drop into the machine, but the token stays up in the coin device. Now as soon as you go in there and you hit this, you assume the turnstile is broken. Then you will turn around and go to the clerk and say, gee, I lost my token in the turnstile. Whereas they will turn around and simply reset it to the home position. This is an exiting move. And the next passenger comes up, they'll sell that fare without removing the token away to the next passenger. This is most common in Grand Central, Penn Station, Times Square, the large locations. You'll see it sometimes up at 72nd Street. It's got to be where there are a lot of tourists or people in transient. A regular person would not buy the token from the guy or the fare from the guy the second time. I've seen him trying to sell 2 tokens to 2 girlfriends at Penn Station, and they got wise that it was a scam. Because one bought the token and he tried to sell, and they turned out to be girlfriends. That's how he blew his cover. That's one of our most vulnerable spots because it's almost impossible, except for passenger awareness, to stop this type of a scam. Because every machine we have has got to exit and entrance. And he knows that exit and entrance. And what the crook has done his time with, he knows that if we go this much off position, your token is not lost. Because if you know anything about the system, the first thing you would do is backpedal the wheel and then go through. And it'll work fine. But that's one of the systems that he will use to take your money from you. The other one, of course, is stuffing the coin device.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Can you go up to the coin device?
Do me one favor. Really not this shot. You have to make that shot so you can see all 3 close. Just go down one more time where you, which way like you, where you turn it backwards and then you turn it forward again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. He'll cock the wheel back this far so that you can't go through. You drop your token, it stops you from going in because people have to exit and entrance. And then when you turn around and go through the gate or go to the clerk and he puts you through the gate or what have you, he'll go like this. Now this wheel is in operation now. And you go through like that. If you're aware of it, all you do is back the wheel up and then go through, and the wheel will work perfectly. But that way you have nothing you can arrest this guy for. He hasn't really done anything. Because once you walk away from that wheel, who says it's not his token in here? Is his word against somebody else's?
Okay, Vinny, why don't you tell us the other way that people get into these machines and steal the city's money?
One of the most common methods, which you've heard of, is token suckers. What they do is they put something into the coin device where you would normally put your token and block it. But they block it just...
Stop, can we stop for a minute? He's looking this way and his mic is over there. You getting good sound?
I can put it on the other side. It sounds fine.
Huh?
It sounds
As long as it sounds fine, but I was just concerned. His mic is over there and he's talking this way.
I mean, I'll switch it over.
What do you think?
Because before he was doing the other way.
Right, I understand.
Yeah. That's no problem. Let me
Put it
just...
behind you.
Yeah.
Go with him to roll.
Yep.
Tell us the different things that they use also. Okay, Vinny, why don't we start again by you telling us about how people steal money from the
Coin device. And the coin return cup. They're tied together. One of the most common methods of stealing money from turnstile is what they do is they stuff a piece of paper or a piece of gum wrap or a cigarette filter, anything they get their hands on, into the coin device so that the token doesn't go down. And when they push it down just far enough so your token can't be extricated easily. So it just sits on top. And it doesn't go in the machine, doesn't register, doesn't allow the machine to work. So now when you drop it in, again, your first instinct is to go back to the clerk and tell him the machine's not working. A good token sucker, or a person who'll pull the tokens out, and some of them suck the tokens actually, put their mouth over it and suck it out, and some of them use tools to pull it out with, can get that token out in a matter of seconds. Before you turned around, he's got the token out. Now he will turn around then and look very innocently at you, and if he has to, he'll pass you through the gate. The gate's over there, just go through. Because the clerk's covered by restrictions that she has to have you fill out a form. One of the other methods is that they'll push the token, they'll manipulate the token down.
Okay, let's start with that second one again.
Right. One of the other methods is they'll manipulate the token so it comes out the coin return cup, so it comes out as a slug. This was so prevalent, and is so prevalent, that we will get sometimes 25% of the fares on a station will show up this way. They're taking advantage of a situation where people have become not confident that the turnstile will work.
Let him do that again. You'll say one of the other things, and then you went to that.
Okay. One of the other, I'm sorry. One of the other things they'll do is manipulate the token in the coin device so it'll come out as a slug in the coin return cup or as an invalid token. Then they would take the money on you because, again, most people aren't aware what's taking place. This became so prevalent at one point, and still is very prevalent, that we had to seal the coin return cups. We actually welded them closed, and they ripped them open. They will actually stand there with tools and rip open the coin device once the money's in there, because they know there's money in there. This, again, is taken from the passenger as well as the TA, because somebody's got to pay a fare somewhere along the line. So that covers this over here. The other manipulations, let's put it this way, there's so many different methods of manipulating any coin device. I could spend 3 hours telling them to you.
Tell us about the safe section that you had to put in and why.
All right.
Rolling.
Okay, Vinny, why don't you tell us about some other device, this device here that you had installed because of the theft that was happening?
What happened was that on the turnstiles, they were breaking into the safe compartment where we had the tokens stored prior to the clerk pulling from the wheel. And they, with such ferocity and such force, that they actually bent the frames of the machines. It got to a point we couldn't fix the doors anymore. So what we did was welded and sealed the doors and installed a safe in the front. This had to give you an idea what's kind of an undertaking something like this takes. This was a combined effort of two of the major safe companies.
Sorry? Darren? Okay.
What we did to counteract the break-in on the doors was we sealed the doors and installed these vaults in the front, which was a combined effort of two of the largest safe companies, Municipal Company and the Transit Authority. The expense of this alone was saved in the first 6 months of operation once we had the vault system-wide. And the reason was that they just couldn't break in. But they just went on to something else. They went to another thing, which was an increasing in the token sucking. And then, of course, they attacked the fare box that we have in case the turnstiles are put out. So a lot of cases, what you'll see is all the wheels out on a station, when in effect all they've done is stuff them so they can get to the fare box. Now we're...
You were saying about the...
Well, about the effort that was put into it,
Yes.
yeah. That this was a combined effort of two of the largest safe companies, Municipal Company and the Transit Authority. The expenses were recouped in the first 6 months of operation, once we had them installed. So it was a major saving. That was effective, but only to a point. They will always look for another avenue. We're constantly on battle. Okay?
You wanna close it up? Okay, let's quickly ask Vinny the question.
Take your hand out of the shot.
Leave the token go?
Take it out.
Take the
Yeah,
token
take it
with
out
you.
and then bring it in. Bring it in.
Drop it. We don't know where that's going, John.
Nobody knows.
token in there. Okay, do it one more time. Now take your hand out. Take your hand out. Alright, now go like you're gonna put a token in. Take your hand away. Now do it in the motion, the speed that you would normally do it. One more time.
Vinny, why don't you just, let's quickly go through for the camera, with you on camera, the different ways that we just went through about how people take money and or steal from the transit system. Let's start with the turnstile gimmick that they do.
Okay, the first thing is called selling the fare, and that's by disabling the machine by back-cocking the wheel slightly so that you don't notice it's in an exiting mode instead of an entrancing mode. And when you can't get in with your token, they count on the fact you're going to be confused and go through the gate, and then they'll sell the fare. The next method is we call sucking tokens. Again, some people suck them out. Personally, with the amount of disease around today, even our token suckers have become very conscious of infections, so they use tools sometimes to extricate them. The third method is manipulating a token into the coin return cup, which now is sealed, and then taking the token from you. The fourth method, or the most common method for a long time, was breaking into the bottom of the turnstile by opening the door and then pulling out the tokens. That was the most lucrative, so we had to put the best effort to stopping that. And then, of course, the cancellation box, which we didn't show you, is where they use the famous sleeve for taking out tokens.
Why don't you tell us about the safe that you have to? But don't forget, give me different focal lengths. You had demonstrated to us before about having to install the safe, and I wanted you to say that on.
All right. Well, at a given point, we had tried reinforcing the doors and reinforcing the turnstiles, and in all honesty, we had found that no matter how much you reinforced them, they actually went at them with 6-foot crowbars. We found there was an organized gang of men breaking into the wheels. And then we were given the go-ahead to open up the dam and do whatever we had to do to stop them. We came up with the safe, and it was really like a combined task force to install the safes. Because what we had to do was an unbelievable effort to retrofit the whole system to the safes. With the combined effort of Diebold, Mosley Safe Company, Medico Lock Company, and tremendous amount of machinists in the department. Tied all our men up for 6 months. But when we finally got finished, it did the job.
Let's talk about the transit system a little bit, just in general, and particularly about you, Vinny. Remember to speak in complete sentences. I won't be using my voice, my questions. What is your job, and how long have you been with transit?
I've been with the Transit Authority 15 years, a little over 15 years. And my opinion of Transit Authority? I think of it as a city within the city. We have our own plumbing, electricians, ventilation people, air conditioning specialists, structure men, and turnstile men, which you don't have in the rest of the city. I have found them on the whole, to be pretty fair in what they do. I don't always agree with their policies, but then they don't always agree with my policies, so that makes us even. They have never really put me in a situation where I felt I was not doing the right thing. At this particular junction in time, the losses to the city are so high that I would tend to believe that they are underestimating the losses tremendously, maybe by folds, not by percentages. And
how much, if you could estimate, how much does the city lose, let's say on a daily basis, whatever figures you could come out with, through the thievery?
Combined efforts.
With the turnstiles. Yeah.
I'd have to put a complete picture, because you have to understand something. Combined efforts with backpedaling, walking through the gate, and everything like that. It's all combined. When you see all the wheels out of service, your fare beats increase. I can best sum it up by telling you this way. I base my figures on the fact that I have talked to very straight people who would never steal a dime, and they are so incensed with the amount of people walking through the gate that they have seriously considered beating the fare. You are now getting out of the population that would normally try and steal from you, and you're getting into people like, I can't mention his name because I haven't gotten a release from him, but the dean of NYU is a good friend of mine, and he told me straight out that he was so incensed about it and didn't think he could do anything about it. As an action to bring out attention to it, he was thinking about walking through the gate. Now, when you get to that point, I don't take those figures as lightly as the transit authority does. I would say that their revenue loss is somewhere in the 30 to 35% bracket. Figuring that we do, that's my own personal opinion, based on the factor how many wheels we have out, how many of our maintainers tell me of repeat wheel outs, the amount of fare beats the clerks report to me personally, knowing what they know on percentage-wise. I would say that your combined figure for loss of revenue may exceed $1 million a day. Because
how many turnstiles do we have in the system, and how many are broken on a daily basis, if you could average that out?
It's a very hard figure to come out with an average figure. On a given morning, at one point, we had 32 stations with all the wheels out of service on those stations. We only have 89 men at full power right now with our department. If you figure that we work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we can't have more than 35 or 40 men on the AM shift. Those 40 men, 32 of them, were tied up in putting stations back together immediately. And of course, we have other priorities. The main priority is getting the stations back in service. The loss to us as far as manpower, when you get a figure like that, how can I tell you how many calls we're actually getting? Do you consider vandalism as a service call? We used to have a very great deal of pride in our job to the point where our men could say at the end of the day, there were no calls left. We would zero out every day our calls. And it's a matter of, only thing I can say is pride in the job. Most of the guys who work the department will gripe. Everybody gripes. Everybody's got their own little things they're not happy with. I've got my own things I'm unhappy with. I'm not going to put them to burden on you. I'll gripe about them to my friends. I'd like to see more police on the system. I'd like to see more protection. I'd like to see a more realistic approach sometimes to some of the things. I don't think of everything as like the AFC being a panacea that's going to cure everything. The only thing I haven't heard it's curing is the common cold and a couple of types of AIDS. Some I heard it's clear, but not all of them. Because when you have here,